With October 20th only a few days away, the race for municipal office is winding down. From every corner of the province, candidates for mayor, reeve, and council are making their final pitches to the voters, to you, the residents. And this edition of Alberta Municipal Votes 2025, we are turning our attention back to the city of Lethbridge, where we are honored to be sitting down and chatting with Lethbridge mayoral candidate Ryan Mennie. Ryan, thank you so much for sitting down with me for a second time to talk about yourself and talk about your bid, but this time not your bid for council, but your bid for mayor, because at the last minute you decided to pull your name from the council position and decide to run for mayor. I know we're 11 days in before this election ends. What was the decision based on to change your role that you were running for?
Thanks, Chris, and thank you for having me back. It's really nice to see you again, and really fantastic to see how you've been engaging people across the province and beyond in this process. You know, it's you put in a lot of time and a lot of work, and so thank you for what you do to educate folks as to what their candidates are thinking and feeling, and what they're hearing. It's that final piece, truly 5 months of campaigning. I started in May, running for council originally. 5 months of talking to people at the doors, talking to businesses, hearing people in coffee shops. Wherever it was, there was a lot coming forward of concern of what took place the past 4 years. A lot of unsustainable practices, particularly our tax increases. And this process, first, it was incredible. It was fantastic that people were willing to be open and share their true concerns with me. And that's what this time of year is. You know, every 4 years we have a municipal election. People can either get excited about it and get excited about the opportunity for change, or they can feel beat down. And I had a former coworker ran into at Cooley Fest at Lethbridge Polytechnic. And this made me sad. This made me feel that this system to some people is completely broken, doesn't hear them at all, so much so that they've given up. And he knew that I was running. He was walking to the event like I was with my kids, and he said, "Yeah, but I don't vote." And when I hear that from someone, and he shared it with me, the common answer is, I feel like my vote doesn't matter. In a municipal election, I've reminded people as much as I can, this government, this level of government has such an impact, in fact, the most impact on your daily life than any other level of government. So when I hear 5 months of upset at the doors, when I hear 5 months of people who have just completely checked out, they're involved in our society. They work, they have kids, they have all these cares just like the rest of us, but they feel just as if their perspective doesn't matter anymore, and their one vote just makes no difference. That's how you derail a community. That's how you get a community disengaged, and you either have the frustrated people, or you have the indifferent people. And so I ran into a lot of that over the last 5 months,
So
leading up
you
to, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, the one thing I often hear from municipal politicians, whether it be candidates or even councillors, you have two ears and one mouth, so you should listen twice as much as you should actually be speaking. When you were listening to these people, and I want you to sort of give me the where we were to where we are literally 11 days as of recording this from election day. Are those people that told you my vote doesn't count? I'm apathetic. I'm not being heard. Are they finally turning a corner and saying, Ryan, if you are sincere, if you are truly listening to me, I am going to vote. I am going to put my trust into you, but don't screw it up.
Yes. The short answer is yes. The long answer is that's exactly what's happened. So it was this process of engagement over almost half a year. And again, hearing these disenfranchised people, these people that lost their connection to their current administration, I came along, I heard that, and it was enough to affect me internally that as we got closer to the deadline to, everyone had to have their paperwork in, I realized there wasn't someone who was bringing that weight from the shoulders of the citizens to this process. And that's where I had to pivot. I had to pivot. And yes, to answer your question, did that change people's perspective? 100%. I can walk up to a door. They either know who I am directly or have heard about what I want to do. And they're, yes, put a sign on my lawn. It's instant. It's overwhelming. There's one issue specifically, and if this comes up in the show, I'll address it further of how it will benefit the entire community. But West Siders, bring up the bridge, bang. You know, uh, you hear us. You hear our challenges from this past year. You hear our concerns for safety moving into the future, and there's more to it. But it's being heard, and it's being heard on the items and the issues that were brought up 4 years ago that the majority of the community said we want this, and they were ignored for 4 years. I'm saying, I'm hearing you. I look, I remember what you wanted 4 years ago, and those are important. Those are things that we need to do. We are behind, and I will be the person to help you and this community catch up.
So let's play in that sandbox then. Let's play in the bridge sandbox
Sure.
because it is not the first time I've heard about the bridge issue. It will probably not be the last time I hear about the bridge issue.
Mhm.
Now, bridges are not cheap. And they are
Mhm.
not something that you could just go out tomorrow morning and say, guess what? We're going to build a $300 million bridge to connect the west side and the east side of Lethbridge and bring them together. How do you be honest with people during this time of transition when you are going to try to build that bridge to get people for safety, to get people from one side to the other side of the city, but do it in a way that people feel like A, you're being heard, and B, you're not going to raise their property taxes 15 to 20% a year to pay for said bridge? Because while the bridge is an issue, I know affordability is an issue as well, because you and I chatted about that
Yeah.
last time on the show.
Mhm. It can be done. And the bombshell is the $50 million in overages from this past 4 years by the current administration would have paid for our piece of the bridge right there. That's one way of encapsulating what that amount of money could have been versus wastage versus overspending. The other piece is and so that's a start is stopping the waste and the
How
radically
much
going over
how
budget.
much did you just want to say gravy train there to quote Rob Ford a little bit?
Gravy's always good if it serves, with some potatoes, and that's about it. It besides the fact that the taxpayer just spent what could have been the equivalent of our portion of the bridge. There's other ways to do it as well, and that's where I've championed again. We bring in other sources of revenue. We tackle two birds with one business. We help advocate for bringing in new employers, new industry that brings in an industrial tax base that takes the load off of the taxpayer and it creates jobs at the same time. We need to foster that environment. The other piece is we do not advocate enough on behalf of this community with our other partners, provincial and federal. That is where the core key funding is for infrastructure of this size. There are initiatives happening right now in our country, and you can look at times in the past where federally our country has done initiatives like this during wartime, during recessions. And when you have, and we're very close to a recession now, you have your federal government doing big projects, doing builds. So the ask is, but not even the ask, the uh, putting it specifically to our partners in the way that this is critical infrastructure. It's part of a system that does connect with the productivity of one of the greatest regions in Canada, Southern Alberta, our agri-food corridor, Southern Alberta, our manufacturing. All of these items need to get from one side of the country to the other, and north and south. Lethbridge, I'm going to now talk direct, has one bridge. The other bridge that we call Lethbridge's second bridge, and the conversation, do we need a third bridge? Why do we need three bridges? We already got two. We don't. That's provincial infrastructure. It's Highway 3. The city does not own it. The city does not maintain it. That is our key corridor for all of this production and goods that need to get to the West Coast, that need to get to the East Coast, that need to get south. And so the case is that hasn't been pushed strong enough to our provincial and federal partners. When Lethbridge has a challenge with our one bridge, and a substantial amount of our city now lives on the west side with decisions that were made based back in the 70s and 80s when we built a post-secondary institution on the other side of the river, and the city that attracted a lot of residents, and the west side is now a beautiful place to be, living in Lethbridge. You now have, the last numbers were a couple years old, 43,000, add a couple thousand on there because the west side is growing exponentially. You have just under 50,000 people who their one direct route that the city owns gets blocked by either an accident, a weather event, or like what happened earlier this summer, an incident with a piece of heavy equipment that went underneath it, broke our bridge for several months this year. And so that basically shut it down or incapacitated it greatly for most of this year. The argument is when we lose that, we are then putting that 45, 50,000 people on your highway, province of Alberta. We are blocking your transport trucks. We are blocking our producers. And everyone is at a standstill when inevitably the next accident or incident happens on that highway. Call it a redundancy, call it a contributor to keeping that corridor running smoothly. Those are two ways of addressing this that no one has yet.
You talk about the portion of the bridge that the municipality would pay for, and you're looking, and I'm assuming, and I know you should never assume, but I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark here and say that you're looking at a partnership between yourself, the federal government, and the provincial government to pay for said bridge. Now, I'm going to be bursting your little bubble here, and I apologize if I have to do it, but I'm going to do it respectfully. The province is not going to come to the table this year to do that. They're probably not going to come to the table next year to do that in their 2026 budget. The federal government will say, we're tapped out. We have no money. How do you move this project forward? Advocacy is one thing, but work and actual action is another thing. How do you see yourself as mayor in ensuring that while you are advocating for other issues, this stays top of mind for the provincial and federal government, whether you're talking to your MP, Rachel Thompson, or your two MLAs, Nathan Newdorf and the NDP MLA, and I forget his last name, Rob Mauricio. I apologize if I pronounced his last name wrong. How do you ensure that those conversations don't stop, even though the province may brush you off and say, we just don't have the money this year?
Yeah, and that's a great question, Chris. I want to say that I have no illusions about the immensity and the money involved in a big ticket item like this. I've been through this before. My 2 terms on city council in Campbell River, we saw the need and we consulted with the community and we found the best model and we pushed forward to build 2 hospitals to the tune of $650 million. And that was an entire process of community engagement. That was an entire process of coming up with the shovel-ready plans of what we wanted. And that was, yes, have no illusion, and I want to clarify this for the community. This is not a quick fix. This is not a quick answer. This is not a quick project. I've had people even last night after I had a long day of of forms and surveys and door knocking, still saying, okay, pitter patter, let's get at her. When is this going to be up and running? And what are the plans? And what is this? We aren't there yet. We 100% aren't there yet. And back to engaging with our other levels of government. So Rachel Thomas, federally, and Rob Miyashiro is our MLA for Lethbridge West, and Nathan Newdorf is our sitting minister with our MLA East Lethbridge with our current government. So these are the partners that I know very well, and this being a long-term project, but something that we are behind on already. We cannot afford A, dollars and cents, and B, what I described, and also going into the safety of the community and our internal economy. People getting from their house to work on the south side, people from getting from their house on the south side to work on the west side. We are all intermingled. Anybody that says, I'm on the north side, I never go to the YMCA, I'm never going to use that bridge in a million years, what do I got to pay that for? It is our economy that we all depend on, and our families getting home safely at the end of the night and reconnecting with their kids that are at day home providers on all sides of the city. And the list goes on and on and on, beyond the easing the flow of traffic. That's one on a list of many of why we need that. But I need to say to the people of Lethbridge, and this is harder when it's at the doors, okay, infrastructure of this size will take years to get done. If we don't start now, look at inflation the last couple of years. If the price tag is 200 million right now, in 4 years, when we haven't started on this and engaged the community and found the right plan and found the right direction and where where this will be implemented and how, we will be another 4 years down the road, and we will be paying exponentially more for what we will be emergency critical infrastructure at that time. We're already behind. So to address your concerns about who's got the money right now, I realize oil, you go to the gas pump. And so when I moved back to Alberta 11 years ago, the consumer in me was dancing in the streets. 99.9. I still have a Facebook memory that pops up of the photo that I took. It's like, welcome back to Alberta. This is great. I got my 7% off card moving from BC here to Alberta that they just hand you right at the border. And then gas, 99.9. Well, this past week, it's 109.9. This is 11 years later. It's basically it's cheaper than the equivalent of what it was 11 years ago. That is great for the consumer. That's not great for our province for the cost of the price of barrels of oil. And so the province has shared that we need to be up around 80 to be in the black. We're around 60 something right now. I realize the province of Alberta is not. They're not making
They're not
it
handing
rain.
out the
They're not
cash. What are you
handing out.
talking about?
Yeah, they are to a certain extent, but it's a tough ask right now. I'll get to the federal government in just a moment in where they are at the moment, and it's an exciting place to be right now. And again, I see it related to generating more activity with the state that our country is in right now. But back to the province, there's a timeline in this. It's been so long. We need to go back to the drawing board of what is the best model of taking off the stress off off Highway 3, creating another corridor that does give us safety and more traffic flow throughout the community. That is a discovery process. That is an engaging the community process. That is an environmental assessment process. That is, there are so many steps that we still need to do to get to the stage where we're shovel ready and we're asking. So that has to start now. The next piece, by the time we're done that, I'm sure the province, and in fact, I've been told that the province expects to be in a much better position in the next couple of years, in the next year, next 2 years. With that said, what is happening with our federal partners is they have their major infrastructure push going on right now, and their major projects. And specifically with that, we've heard of multiple provinces getting initiatives funded that truly do impact the well-being and benefit of all Canadians. So, can we phrase our infrastructure in Lethbridge that serves the country with our ag, our food, everything that's grown here, that and our processing and everything that's shipped all across the country, and then as well, our manufacturing. Those key components are key to a well-running, not just province, but country. And so with that, there is a case to go after, if not the major projects, something similar to get that assistance to get Lethbridge what it needs.
I want to turn to the role of mayor for a few minutes, if you don't mind, before I let you go, because I'm very cautious of time, and I know you are busy as we enter in the last phase of this campaign. You will be leading a team. Now, you do not get to pick your teammates on this Blue Jays field. You get to basically be the person who is leading the team that the people of Lethbridge have chosen for you. How do you see yourself leading this next term of council, whoever it may be, because you may have conservatives, you may have liberals, you may have independents, you have X, Y, and Z. And I say liberals, partisan liberals, because we do not have political parties in Lethbridge right now, but we do have people who have political influences, whether they be right, left, center. How do you see yourself as mayor, as the team lead, ensuring that everyone works together for that common goal of making Lethbridge great?
Thanks, Chris. That was a great way of summing up what the job of mayor is. I am going to say that I've been asked, probably the second most asked question on this campaign has been, "Who are you with?" And until you answer me, I'm not going to stop asking. And I have fought this in a proactive way. Uh, there are the people who understand what I'm saying when I share this, and then the people that um, just don't want to go there, mentally, physically, spiritually, however, is that the key role of a mayor and council to serve the entire community in a municipality, you are not partisan. It is nonpartisan. You are serving everyone. And so, as mayor, I will be the key driver of a culture and a culture shift, if necessary, that listens to everyone, that serves everyone. We're a community. We're not shirts of different colors.
Even though
From the
provincially you
municipal
are, at municipal you aren't.
Exactly, exactly. And that has been lost. That concept has been lost. It even came up when I first ran, back in 2008. It started rearing its head. I'm like, what? What do you mean? What part of you? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm running here because I've been working and growing my family here, and I want to serve the community at the highest level possible. It's become something of, which team are you on? And the short answer is, I'm on Team Lethbridge. And that's the culture that I will uh, bring to the group if it is not there, and continually steer us in the right direction of, we are serving Lethbridge.
At the beginning of the interview, you talked about the apathy that is in Lethbridge and the feeling of not being heard. How do you see your role as mayor ensuring that people do have a true voice at City Hall, whether they be people who agree with you, and we're getting into that partisan talk, but it's not about the partisan talk in this question. It's about the people who vote for you and the people who don't. Because, again, going to try and not burst your bubble too hard, but 100% of the people of Lethbridge will never vote for you. Plain and simple. How do you ensure that people who don't vote for you, people who disagree with you, truly still have a voice in an administration led by you?
Yeah, and thanks again, Chris. And I'm certainly not naive to the fact that in municipal government, you're successful if you can have some of the people happy most of the time. What I bring to the table is 30 years as a professional communicator in my radio career. I know how to engage people. I know how to uh, share communication with them. With that said, you're not a radio guy without listeners. And it was engaging the community. It was getting out into the community. It was talking to those listeners. In this case, it's the citizens, it's the businesses, it's the taxpayers. And I've been doing that for the last 5 months. You need constant two-way communication, early, open, transparent, meaningful, all of the above, whether it's during a process of development application, whether it's about new services you're looking at, whether it's about a potential third bridge, all of the above. Too many people the last 5 months said, I've never had a candidate knock on my door, and I never see them in the community. So there are people out there that feel a disconnect with City Hall. It goes two ways. It is a two-way street. Be engaged, take those surveys, stay informed, follow the city on the Facebook pages and YouTube and everything else that exists out there. Don't be apathetic to the process. Don't sit in a dark room for 4 years and then say, I don't know what's going on and I don't like any of it. Well, there are two parts. You do have a responsibility as a citizen of Lethbridge to do your best to stay informed. With that said, I know everyone has a busy life. It is not their job to know the inner workings of everything. So that's the mayor and council's job to put into layman's terms. We hear you. This is how we want to tackle this, and let's stay in touch throughout this process.
One last area I do want to play in. I know we're jumping around here, but I'm trying to get as much information as possible before we have to let you go. And that is something you talked about right at the top of the interview, and that is affordability. And we talked about it during the infrastructure challenges. One of the big items that you will have to tackle and you have to lead a council through is the budget. And that budget will be the very first big thing that this next council has to deal with. When you talk to people, I'm assuming the concerns of affordability is top of mind. Now, the only thing that truly, and I say this respectfully and know that there's a very nuanced manner when it comes to this, the only thing that the municipality can raise is the mill rate, which is the property taxes and the service levels and the construction that the projects that you do that year. How do you see yourself as mayor leading the council through this budget cycle to ensure that the mother and father who is one income, who is struggling paycheck to paycheck right now, doesn't feel more pressure when they get that property tax notice in their mail next June?
So to be real, and this is something that's harder to share at the doors, is this is going to be a process. We are already underwater in the sense that decisions that have been made in the last 4 years are going to impact us directly for the next couple of years. There's nothing I can do about that. That is something that I need to be clear about right now. There are things that have been done in the past 4 years that will impact us as taxpayers that we need to get out of. Where did the $50 million
Can I
dollars?
point there for a second? Give me one
Yeah,
example of that because that is a very loaded
sure.
question. So I need an
Yeah.
example so that way people don't go, "Why'd you let him off the hook on that, Chris?"
Yeah. So $50 million dollars in budget overruns in the past 4 years. We can't recover from that starting next month when your new mayor and council, whoever they may happen to be, are representing you. They can't flip a switch and make it all go away. We have the $50 million dollars in budget overruns from three projects in the last 4 years. One of them specifically was the agri-food hub, the construction of that. The oversight wasn't there. $20 million over budget. Where does that money come from? It comes from a tax increase, the equivalent of $1,200 per taxpayer. It comes from contingency or emergency funds. Those have to be filled back up again. To fill them back up again, you have to raise taxes. You need that income coming in. So that is what we are dealing with from the choices made in the past 4 years for the next year to two. So that's the clarity that I need to get across. What happens instantly walking in the door as a new mayor and council is fiscal accountability. It is truly dealing with the core issue that brought us to where we are from the past 4 years of these decisions continually being made and these mistakes and these issues. You don't change anything, expect the same thing to happen. We can't afford the same thing to happen for the next 4 years. So it's going into council. It is finding where are our inconsistencies, where are our issues, where are our greatest challenges that we can tackle right off the bat of why these budget overruns keep happening.
Okay, so there's two different methods I want to play in, two different lanes I want to play in here, and I apologize if this comes off as one big question. Now, project overruns are always going to happen. I'm not trying to be disrespectful on that. They always
Yeah.
happen because we cannot control the weather.
Contingency. Yeah.
Exactly, there is
Yeah.
contingencies. But the one thing that municipalities can do, though, is build that into the project budget prior to anything that goes out to RFP. And also, if you have bad actors, not saying that all companies who do RFPs who work for municipalities are bad actors, but if you have a repeat of the same incident over and over again where the same company is going over budget 100 200 million dollars or 100 million $1 million even, that means the municipality can say maybe we should look somewhere else. How do you ensure that you keep that fiscal transparency by saying this is what we're going to build, this is how much it's going to cost? Company, if you're going to bid for us, you better make sure that it comes in at this level or under, because we do not want to take this crap anymore where you have to come to us and say we need an extra $20 million for a project that you promised that was going to be under budget or at the budget you bid for.
Yeah, yeah. And again, back to any kind of project, major or medium size. Contingencies are always been built into those. When your city staff brings those to you through the CAO, it's very clear what the contingency amount is as your overall approved budget, not beyond that extra amounts. That is already built into your key budget that you are aware of, you share with the public, and that is what, that's if the key piece of what the cost is supposed to be has some overruns, you then go into the contingency that has already been budgeted for. And it's very clear. And so, yes, you have issues that need to be dealt with if you continually go over budget, whether it's your provider, whether it's your, not correct information from your through your CAO. There's a multitude of places where things can be going wrong. They need to be addressed, especially when they keep happening over the past 4 years. So with that said, yeah, it's a very clear process. You go through it, you vote for it, and that's the plan that you're sticking to. I want to say one interesting way that, there are ways that we can do things differently. And in the lens of engagement and clarity and having oversight from everyone involved. Imagine if you had a project tracker on a website through the city that said, we're building that bridge. Here's where we are. This is our budget, this is our timeline, and constant updates on that project of where we are in a visual manner that people can understand very quickly and easily. Guess what? That gives the oversight and the instant accountability holder information that the citizens need to, stay engaged with their mayor and council and say, hey, I've been looking at the tracker. Is it going still going the right direction? That's one example of these projects. I mentioned this to someone the other day at a forum. When you're on making decisions at City Hall, when the average human brain you almost lose touch of what $1 million means, if not 100, 200, $300 million. Think of $1 million as in how many taxpayers had to fund that to make that $1 million happen. What out of that money that they scraped for could have been shoes for their kids going back to school, a new roof on their house, other things that were key and directly important to them that year, but it's to make our community better. It's to serve everyone with all of our resources, and that's what we do. With that said, keep those dollar amounts in perspective. And when that perspective gets lost, you go over budget $50 million in 4 years.
It's a tricky area that we live in, but hopefully, as the next mayor, you will be able to do that and you'll be able to navigate those uncertain waters because you have to build the community, but you also have to do it responsibly and sustainably for the people who live there. And it's going to be one of the big tight ropes that a lot of people, a lot of municipal councils are going to have to walk. One last area I do wanted to play in before I ask the $1 million question, and it is around encampments, homelessness, crime, safety, mental health. Now, I was just recently down in Lethbridge a few weeks ago, and I was having a conversation with some people down there. And one of the things that I heard over and over again was we don't feel safe in the downtown core anymore. Now, safety is very individualized because I have never not felt safe in Lethbridge. I've never walked down the streets of Lethbridge and said, I don't feel safe. I've always felt safe. But for the people who live there, who I spoke to, said, no, this is an issue for them. How do you see yourself as mayors working alongside the Lethbridge Police Department to ensure that people feel safe in the downtown core? And I don't want to say this disrespectfully, but I'm going to have to a little bit. So please, if you're going to send the email, send them to Chris, not to Ryan, because this is Chris's opinion. How do you ensure that people who do have mental health challenges or are facing houselessness get the supports they need from the province and the municipality?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. To be frank, this is an issue that all communities deal with. And is there uh, one simple solution that we're just all not seeing? No, there isn't. I'm never going to try to be perceived as the smartest guy in the room with all of the answers. It's working with your public partners. I want to take a moment and give a shout out to Chief Medizadeh from Lethbridge Police Service. He's an incredible asset to the community. You see him out everywhere. He has, just changed the culture of our community for the better. Whether that's with his team, whether that's being the first person out to an event, he's an incredible person and he's great at his job. With that said, so more resources for LPS to do their job, combined with, our partners that are in health. It's an issue that our city is dealing with, but in the municipal budget, it's not specifically geared towards health issues, mental health, physical health, any of that. We can be the biggest advocate, the biggest cheerleader for those initiatives to our partners in the province, who that is their mandate. And it's saying, here's where we are now. Here's the issues of our people challenged on the streets. This is what we need to help them with that, in conjunction with, like you say, everyone's idea of safety is different. We've seen issues going on for decades in the downtown core that in some ways have just gotten worse as the world has changed and the substances have changed. And so people's behaviors have changed. And so I had a friend, his business was impacted, of a guy going up a back stairwell, breaking into, going all Mission Impossible and breaking into the skylight, and then, robbing from all of the businesses that were in that historic heritage building downtown. So there's a network, there is crime, there are the people that need help, but they're right in the district, the business district, right on the sidewalk when you're trying to take your family and go into a shop. Those are things that we can address directly, and then it's getting those people who aren't part of the justice system the supports that they need.
How much is it bringing people to the table to work out that solution? The province, the stakeholders, the nonprofits, to ensure that the municipality isn't bearing the full weight and responsibility of the, I don't want to say fix because I don't, screw it. I'm going to say fix. How much responsibility that the municipality doesn't have to fix the issue by themselves, and it is a Lethbridge approach, not just a municipal approach.
Yes, yeah, it's not just on the taxpayers' pocketbook to fix a solution. It's a people problem, and we need all of the people in Lethbridge and the ones who have the direct line of communications to the folks that can help at all levels, at the table at all times.
So my final question before I let you go is the $1 million question. Now, I had asked you this $1 million question last time, but now it's going to have to be rewritten because you were running for a different position. But Ryan, in your opinion, why should people put their trust into you on October 20th as their next mayor for the great city of Lethbridge, Alberta?
Thank you, Chris. We're going to stop the 4 years of fiscal mismanagement, the $50 million that we went over budget. We've already paid for that. And so we're going to change the culture. We're going to change the model. We're going to change the way things are done at City Hall with this current administration. We're going to hold your city government accountable. We're going to find ways to make Lethbridge affordable again. We've had many people move to this community that I've talked to in the last few months from Chestermere, from Okotoks, from Vancouver Island, and they are paying a massive amount more here than they are where they came from. We're going to fix that. We're going to champion this community. We have so much untapped potential. I want to hear about your ideas, your creativity, your interest in the direction of this community, not just the next 5, 10, but 25 years. I want to hear from you over the course of the next 4 years and be your voice to champion our team that you've elected at City Hall.
Ryan, it is a pleasure and honor to sit down with you again. Best of luck in 11 days when the voting takes place. Looking forward to potentially continuing this conversation after you are elected on October 21st. And if so, we'll see you in Calgary for Alberta Municipality. So thank you so much. Also, quick note, if you are a resident of Lethbridge and you want to learn more about Ryan, the links to his social media pages and websites will be in the show notes below. So check those out. Highly recommend it. Ryan, always a pleasure.
Chris, thank you so much. You're an amazing resource for our province.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Alberta Municipal Votes 2025 here on Municipal Affairs. Quick editorial note. If you are a candidate running in this upcoming election and want to be featured on this show, reach out to us directly over the weekend and we will get you on the show next week. Now, on Tuesday, it will be the very last day of this series, Alberta Municipal Votes 2025. That is because a week later, we are going to be in election mode. On Monday, October 20th, we are going live at 7:30 Mountain Standard Time on YouTube to talk about this important election with stakeholders, with former mayors, former councillors, current councillors, getting reaction live throughout the night about us all-important municipal election. So you do not want to forget and do not want to miss that upcoming episode. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube so you don't miss our live election night show. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we will be back with a brand new episode of Alberta Municipal Votes 2025 here on Municipal Affairs shortly. Till then, everyone.